Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust.
And we normally travel around in our VW Campervan, but we are partway through a 5-week road trip around America. And we thought it was about time to give you a van tour of our beautiful RV.
For me, the thing that I love about this van the most is that I get a proper full-size bed and I don't have to put it away. It's really comfy. We have jazzed it up with lots of duvets and it has our own little window. It's nice. Another great advantage of this over our little tiny VW is the amount of storage. There are 6 of these huge cupboards. We've not even used most of them. When Mum was with us, it was pretty handy though. I've never seen so many lights in a van. It's got 12 of these double light switches, plus another 4 over the beds and another one over our bathroom vanity cabinet. Not sure we need them all, but when we were on electric hookup, we certainly used them, seeing so we're paying that much for the electric hookup. Another thing the van does have is 2 sets of air vents above both of the beds. I'm assuming that's for when it's really hot. We're travelling in October, so we've not used them yet. We've got a dinky tiny little bathroom area. It's got a sink, a cabinet to put all our toiletries in, another big cupboard underneath. When we were first hiring an RV, one of the things I was quite excited about is that for once in our lives we'd actually have on-board facilities. So it's got a toilet and it's got a shower. The reality is it's really cold in there in the winter and we're not fans of emptying the black water tank, so we've hardly used toilet and we've only ever used the shower once each. That said, it is a great facility. The shower actually works really well and it is handy having the toilet. The main reason we haven't used them is we've been on campsites most of the time and it's just easier and warmer to go and use their facilities. Moving through the van, even more cupboard space. There's a huge cupboard here for all our coats and things. We can put the shoes in the bottom, 3 drawers for all our underwear and stuff, and more drawers here that we don't even use. The thing that we've used the most in this van is the heater because we're travelling in sort of mid-October. It's got a vent that comes out here and it's got a control panel just around the other side. We only discovered, bearing in mind we've been travelling for 3 weeks now, if we leave the heating control just slightly on, then it kicks in if it gets below 11 degrees at night, which is quite nice waking up in the morning to a nice warm van, and we haven't even got to get out of bed to do that. The van comes with a massive full-size fridge and a proper freezer as well. Really handy. We've been doing big shops at Walmart and just freezing the meat. One of the disadvantages of the fridge though, we have found whenever we travel somewhere we have to open it really tentatively. We've broken so many eggs and the veg just launches out at us, but it's really handy. As you can see, we've developed a system of boxes, so anything that can roll around we just leave in the boxes to try and stop the avalanche whenever we open the fridge. When we travel in the UK in our VW van, we never use the sink because it's about this big and it's useless. But this has actually been amazing. It's got hot water all of the time, as long as we remember to put the heater on. And yeah, it's a great size sink to use. We are loving having a proper kitchen in the van. We have hardly eaten out at all because we're away for 5 weeks. It's got a 3-ring hob. We have had occasions where we've used all 3. It's also got a microwave. Yay, a van with a microwave, which we thought was a bit strange, but we have used it loads. And it's also got a hood extractor fan, which we've definitely had to use because we've set the smoke alarm off several times. A couple of safety features, which we've tested a couple of times with the smoke alarm and the carbon monoxide tester up there, and there's also a fire extinguisher. Luckily we haven't had to test that yet. The van comes with a magic little control panel. It's ace. We can check by pressing that button what the levels are on the battery, which at the moment is in good condition. We're very low on LPG gas, we know that, so we're going to have to get some today. The fresh water tank is 2/3 full, so we're okay for a while. Black water tank's empty because we just don't use it. And grey water tank is the one that does fill and needs emptying regularly because of all the washing up that we do. We have to switch the water pump on if we want it to work, which we do keep forgetting and then I curse. And this is our water heater button, so we can have hot water, and it's really good actually. Within about 15 minutes, the water is actually too hot to wash up with. And there's a generator. I'm not going to press that button because the generator makes an almighty racket. We've only actually used it once because we've been on campsites all the time. The van comes with an aircon unit. We actually haven't used it, again because we're travelling in October, but I would imagine it would be really handy in the summer. We've felt days when it has been quite warm, but we've never been adventurous enough to actually work out how it works. It has a great little seating area that we use all the time actually. When Mum was with us, that was Mum's seat, and she could sit and watch what was going on when we were driving, and she could look out the windows when we were wildlife spotting. Really nice to have a dining room table that we don't have to put the bed away all the time from. This amazing little space up here was our bed for 2 weeks while Mum was travelling with us, and actually it was really cosy. It's got another mattress that comes out here and goes over the cab. It's got windows and lights up there. The only issue was that we kept banging our heads every time we sat up. You can't sit up properly when you're up there. As a rental van, we have felt a little bit like it's quite dated and it's quite old-fashioned. It had 125,000 miles on the clock. One of the things that we've noticed that probably frustrated us the most is the electric systems in it. In our VW van in England, we've got lots of USB sockets that we can use even when we're just not on hookup. But here, none of the sockets work unless you are plugged into electric hookup in a campsite or you've got the generator running.
The first thing you realise when you pick up the van is just exactly how big it is. It's based on a Ford E350 Super Duty truck base. Doing a little bit of research into that, I thought the 350 was 3.5 litre engine, but no, it's a 6.2 litre V8 engine, so it's no wonder it absolutely guzzles the petrol. The second thing is it's really powerful to pull such a heavy motorhome. It generates around about 360 brake horsepower, which compared to our little Nelson, which we think is pretty powerful at 150 brake horsepower, 2 litre engine, it is no comparison, but it's got a lot of weight to pull around. Then the best way to take you around the outside of the van is to work in a anti-clockwise direction. So the first access hatch we get to is the diesel generator. We haven't actually used this. It's for when you are off grid and you are wanting mains power. So it is really powerful. The only time we fired it up for about 5 minutes, and we were that embarrassed about the noise and the fumes it was chucking out, we switched it off. Now this next one confuses me a little bit because it should be really, really simple. It's the Shoreline Power. So when you go in here and you've actually got to unplug the socket. It's got an internal socket, and then that goes into your campsite power socket. When you plug it back in, you take the socket and you put it into the socket, and the reason we do that is because it takes the power from the engine when you're driving and it charges the leisure battery. So it's a bit of a strange setup, but it seems to work perfectly well. So this is our absolute least favourite hatch on the van. It is the black sewer tank hatch, also the grey sewer tank, but you have to do both at once. So there's a pipe there that will pull out, and then there's lots of things that you have to pull, and it drains into the city dump, and it's disgusting, and it smells disgusting. Okay, the fuel cap. We were really surprised. It runs on unleaded petrol, not diesel. Not sure why we were surprised. It's such a huge van. We thought it would we just naturally assumed it would be diesel. And lastly, on this side of the van, something that we don't see very often at all in Europe is the city water connection. Literally, pop that open, plumb in our hose pipe, connected to what seemingly in every American campsite has a water supply, and that's it. We have running water in the van without having to fill the tank. The one thing we love about a larger van is a larger garage space. It's something we do not have in our VW back home in Europe, and it's something when we're over here we have bucket loads of. It's got an access port at the back and it's got an access port at the side, and it just fits everything in. It is absolutely cavernous and something that we definitely want in our next van. With a big van comes a big water tank, and it's really, really useful for when you're on the road. We haven't really used showers that much, but we can imagine that if we were using the onboard shower, it would use bucket loads of water, and this tank takes forever to fill, but it makes sure that we've got water whenever we need it. The last hatch, which you rarely need to go into, is when you need to refill propane. And over here, the garage assistants tend to do that for you. So it's not like being in the UK, which scares the living daylights out of me when I'm putting LPG in the van. whereas this is really straightforward. So driving this beast was probably one of my biggest anxieties prior to coming on the trip. Oh, it's big! It's not actually that bad. It does drive a little bit agriculturally and a little bit like a truck because it's a big old beast, but there's a lot of similarities to a car, granted quite an aged car. The first thing that you've got to get your head round is that it's an automatic, and it's not a posh automatic that has a gear change or a control stick down here. It's good old-fashioned up here, and you've just got to lock it into position in either drive or reverse or park. It doesn't allow you to switch off the engine if it's not in park. The next big difference to the UK is that there's no handbrake, but there is a parking brake, and it's operated by a foot pedal down there. Now, normally when I've driven cars in the US before, getting the parking brake off, you just press the foot pedal again, but it doesn't work here, and there is a little catch, a hand catch down here, that it took me about 20 minutes when we first picked up the van, and then I had to concede defeat and actually go and ask the people as to how to get the handbrake off. As the van is such a big van, it does have a really useful feature that I've not come across before, which is tow assist. And what tow assist does is it's for when you're in the mountains and you don't want to use your brakes too often. If you do use your brakes, apparently they overheat and they can be damaged, and as a rental vehicle you then get charged for that. Whereas with tow assist, it engine brakes, so when you're going down mountain passes, it's a really strange feeling that you don't actually have to use your brakes, and the engine gears down and slows you down to an appropriate speed. It's really useful. It occasionally is a bit quirky, but I have found it really reassuring when we drive in the mountain passes. One of the big things that are important when you're driving a big van is a big set of mirrors, and I've been really impressed with those. You do get a feeling of the width of the van. The only difficulty is the length of the van, and I still haven't got my head round how long the van is. There are reversing sensors, but it's a very antiquated system that I don't really trust, so 9 times out of 10 Jackie gets out and co-pilots me into parking spaces and campgrounds. As I've said previously, the RV is based on a big old Ford truck, and it is very industrial feel inside. The stereo is awful. It's really bad, and we haven't been able to hook up our phones into the system because the jack system doesn't seem to work, and it's like something out of a car 20-30 years old. The other frustrating thing is this is the only USB charging socket in the van for when you're not on hookup, and that just seems so antiquated. So we have to keep our phones charged through this. It doesn't even have a USB connector, so if you are hiring an RV, it's really important to remember to bring a cigarette lighter adapter so that you can actually charge things when you're on the move. So apart from that, it's a really comfy van to drive. 2 comfy seats up front. There's loads of storage space for drinks and all your stuff that you accumulate over the course of a journey, and I've actually really enjoyed driving it.
So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed our little van tour, and I'm hoping that it might help if you're thinking of hiring a van. We've certainly enjoyed our last few weeks.
We're currently in Breckenridge in Colorado, and we're coming into our last week of our 5-week tour. So it's coming to an end, and it's going to be a little bit sad when it does come to an end, and I think we're going to be a little bit sad handing the van back.
Yeah, definitely. If you are thinking of hiring a van yourself and you wanting to know the processes that you need to go through, we are going to do another video in a few weeks about how we hire the van.
So that's it from us. See you later.
Bye.